Wow, you guys, I am so touched from yesterday and how many of you DM'd me, texted me. If you didn't see, yesterday was Nick's birthday. I had planned a dinner for us. We had the kids last week. We were kid free on his birthday, so I was excited. I had plans to take him to a nice dinner. Then we were just gonna have a nice night together. I woke up yesterday and I had zero energy. Like it literally felt when I woke up like everything was sucked out of me. The best way I can explain it is that I felt like I woke up and I had the flu. Your body ached, you have no energy, like you can barely get out of bed. Of course, I woke up and I was just so annoyed. I had just had a few good days over the weekend, and it's, of course, now it's Nick's birthday, and I'm feeling this way. I attempted to feel better because if you know me, you know that this whole sitting still, being in bed, not feeling well, not feeling like myself has really affected me in so many ways. I was determined to feel better. I moved from our bed to the couch. I was by myself because Nick was in the warehouse. I need to add more foundation because we are going to be guests on a podcast and extra coverage since my hormone friends are just out to play. Nick gets home from work around 5-ish. I was like, how was your birthday? How was your day? And as he was explaining his day, I just started hysterically crying. Like, I could not stop crying. I just felt so bad that it was his birthday and I can't even get myself off the couch. That's how bad I'm feeling. I can't even imagine the thought of going to dinner and getting ready for dinner. So he was, what's going on? And I just told him, I feel like I have no energy. It's now been 6 weeks of me feeling this way. In addition to it being your birthday and I feel like I'm letting you down, I also mentally and physically can't take this much longer. This feeling of your body hurts, I can't function. That's very weird to me. Growing up with parents who are immigrants to this country, work is embedded in us at a very young age. I've always worked. As some of you may know, Nick and I started a clothing brand in 2024. I quit my job in corporate America and went to do Palmer full time, our clothing brand. I think back to that decision, even though it was the scariest thing I have ever done or any decision I've made to leave an industry I had been in since I graduated college to go start this clothing brand. But now, hindsight's 2020, it was the best decision I could have ever made. Not only am I doing something that brings me so much passion to my life, I can't imagine being in corporate America where I have to take time off for IVF, for appointments, for treatments, waking up and feeling horrible like I did yesterday. I am truly from the bottom of my heart so grateful. And it's another reason why I believe that God's timing is perfect, because the fact that we decided to start Palmer and decided to have me leave my job was all in his perfect timing. It was nothing I could have ever imagined, a journey that we would eventually embark on. So part of the story is that Nick is just so perfect. Like, he is the perfect partner for me. And I knew that, obviously, when we got married, but I also couldn't imagine the support I really needed during IVF. He was like, do not feel bad. You're not ruining my birthday. I would love to order food, have the food come, have us eat it. We're watching Modern Family. I've never watched it. He's watched a little bit of it before, but we're literally loving it. It's just so easy to watch and so funny. Put on some Modern Family and have the best night ever on the couch. You don't have to beat yourself up for feeling this way. But of course, he ends it with, I know you're going to beat yourself up because I know who you are. Anyways, we did exactly that. And I just kept crying. Like, there was no stopping my crying. Like, we had already talked about it. I felt a little better with where we are, the decision we made to stay in and to order food. You know, when you're sad and you cry, and then eventually you get to a point where it's like you just let it all out. So it's like there's no more tears left to cry and you're done crying. But there's none of that. I couldn't stop crying, but I was fine. I felt okay. I had come to terms with our decision. I just could not stop crying. So that was definitely interesting. But to give you guys the backstory of why I'm on a suppression medication right now, which basically what this medication does is to give my body the best chance to implant our embryos. When we did our first cycle of IVF, they did diagnose me with a silent form of endometriosis. They're calling it a silent form because I never had the traditional side effects of endometriosis. My period was always normal, regulated. There was nothing that stood out. The only thing that I found out when I first started the process of IVF was that my uterus is inverted. And literally, I'm quoting the doctor that did that test for me when I started IVF when he told me that. He's, oh, it's just a fun fact. Now it's not going to affect anything with fertility. And now that I look back at it, I don't know because I haven't gotten to the point of transfer yet. I assume what he was saying was it doesn't interfere with carrying a baby, but what it does interfere with is the quality of the embryos. Our first IVF cycle failed. And after I did the egg retrieval and they were testing the eggs, they found that many of my eggs had poor egg quality and then also weak membranes, which when they first told me, I was like, what in the world does all this mean? So basically, that is where they're saying there is some inflammation somewhere that we're not able to see from a scan, or it's just not visible to the naked eye. That is where the silent form of endometriosis comes to play. For my second IVF cycle, they changed my protocol and we went into egg retrieval more hopeful that with this different protocol, it would lead us to a better outcome, which it did. So grateful. And now we are to the point where we should be transferring already. My egg retrieval was a long time ago. But what they decided, because of the silent form of endometriosis and the fact that there was some form of inflammation in my body, they put me on a suppression medication for 65 days. I'm on this medication prior to any injections or anything I do to get ready for transfer. It's a pill that I take twice a day, once in the morning and then once at night. I have had horrible side effects on any medication that I have had to be put on when it comes to my IVF cycles. What's really ironic is that none of the injections have ever given me side effects, which is just so weird. I am 6 weeks into this medication. It has just rocked my universe. So it is suppressing all the inflammation, but at the same time, it puts you into premenopause. All the symptoms that go into premenopause, the weight fluctuation, the body temperature control, not being able to sleep, hormones going insane. Why I couldn't stop crying yesterday. And headaches. It's just awful. Every side effect that they have on the label, I always get them. Don't know why. I am the lucky winner to have all these side effects, but here we are. This medication has rocked my world and in ways that I could have never imagined. How I describe it is that I don't know how I'm going to feel each day. Each day is different. It really boils down to how I feel when I wake up in the morning and also what kind of sleep I was able to get. If you know me, I like structure. I like knowing what's ahead of me. I like knowing a plan. Being an entrepreneur and owning this business with my husband, there's so much that goes into it. Nick and I had the conversation prior to starting IVF that my role was going to look very different because it was really going to depend on how I felt. And as I'm so grateful to have a husband that is able to step in where lacking, he also owns another company that he has had for over 18 years. He is working full time, 2 companies. So again, that is something that really affected me. I'm not used to not being reliable. I'm not used to having to be like, I'll have to let you know if I'm going to be able to do this because I have to wake up in the morning and see how I'm going to feel. All of that is foreign to me. I've just always been in the mindset of you might not feel good. I can push through it and I can make it through, which is probably why I reached burnout in my early 30s. A lot to learn about myself. It's a journey. At the same time, I am so grateful that we even have the opportunity to do IVF, but it has been one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. I don't fully believe that if anybody had told me how hard it was going to be, if I would actually have believed them. I think it's a thing where you really have to go through it and see how your body reacts. But the emotional side of IVF is the loudest thing for me right now. It makes me really sad that my source of figuring out is this normal how I feel is really ChatGPT and my acupuncturist. That blows my mind because you are spending so much money in IVF and they have all these tutorials on how to do your injections, and you have a financial person assigned to your account and you have a nurse, and nowhere is anybody talking about the emotional side of IVF and what your body is going to go through and how is it going to feel outside of even the side effects. Like, even this medication can cause X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's great to know. But when these side effects create this emotional side in you, you're left wondering, this is my body literally failing me. My body is reacting horribly to this medication. Nobody ever said that I was going to feel this way. It's so easy to go down that rabbit hole. And that is the one thing I want to really try to help with sharing my story of, one, you're not alone in this. Two, if you feel like a crazy person by messaging your clinic and getting these one-word responses and feel like you're pulling teeth to even get a conversation going, you're not alone. And also, if you feel like you are literally going crazy, you don't even recognize yourself anymore mentally, you are also not alone. We live in a world that we need to do better, that the fact that we get support is not through ChatGPT because the nurses are too busy or the doctor's too busy, or they just pretty much give you a generic, these are the side effects, which medication would you prefer? There is more than just side effects and listing out what it can do to your body, because nowhere in this list are the emotional effects it will have on you. I'm very passionate about this, but this is what I want to do, and this is why I have felt comfortable to share my journey of IVF. I'm not going to be sharing numbers of how many embryos we have, just because I have also felt in my journey that has created such comparison, and I don't want that. Everybody is so different. You don't know from your favorite IVF influencer that is posting that they got this amount of eggs from their egg retrieval. You don't know their body. You don't know their protocol. So if you're seeing this ginormous number for them and then you go in for your egg retrieval and you have half that number and you feel, OMG, what is wrong with me? I don't want to create that here, because that is what's not important. What is important is creating a community where women can come together and know they're not alone and know that they're literally not going crazy. It's just the emotional side of IVF needs to be talked about.